I'm here at the home of Shirley Luker with Dr. Monte Luker, who will be guiding us next year in 2014 in June to the Holy Land. Dr. Luker, could you tell us what we can expect when we get to Israel?
Well, Pastor Butts and I have worked hard on this for about the last year, putting together an itinerary. We have three goals. One, of course, is the biblical, archaeological, historical. The second is a cross-cultural ecumenical, where we rub shoulders with other people, the Israelis, the Palestinians, our Christian brothers and sisters in the Holy Land, our Muslim brothers and sisters in the Holy Land. And we recall that really we're all children of Abraham and Sarah, the three great monotheistic faiths. But the third goal is spiritual pilgrimage. You really can't go to the Holy Land without having your faith enriched. Believe me, you will never read the Bible the same again. It just comes alive. I know you at Trinity have been doing a couple of years of intensive biblical study, and this is the perfect way to put some meat on the words, to actually walk the book that you've been studying so hard and see it come alive. And I know it almost sounds a little hokey, but all of my people get back and they say, Pastor, we really never read the Bible the same again. Sermons come alive, Bible classes are much more alive. So that, along with the great bonding and community that develops in the parish for those who can experience these 2 weeks together. You are, I'm not joking really, you're safer in Jerusalem than you are in Baton Rouge or New Orleans. And you're probably safer traveling from Galilee to Judea than you are traveling from Baton Rouge to Atlanta. Educational Opportunities is the mother company that is sponsoring the travel arrangements of our group. We're actually done through the school, the Jerusalem Center for Biblical Studies, but the travel arrangements are done by Educational Opportunities. It's the largest travel company in the world. They've been operating tours to the Holy Land for 40 years, and they have never had an incident. I personally live in the Holy Land 4 to 8 months out of most years. I just spent the summer there. Before that, I spent the winter there. I feel completely comfortable. I have an apartment in Jerusalem. I travel in my car and get in. I drive to Jericho. I drive to see my friends in Bethlehem. I drive up to the Sea of Galilee. I feel completely comfortable there. Now, you hear about things, Syria, Gaza. We don't go to those places. Well, 30 years. Don't tell anybody. That's a good question. I guess maybe the Dead Sea. I mean, and we're going to actually get to stay 2 nights on the Dead Sea, right on the shore, rather than take a 20-minute dip the way some groups do. We'll actually have a day to go down to the Dead Sea and experience it. But to watch how everybody floats, no matter how skinny your teenage boy is or how large your grandmother is. No stereotypes here, but everybody floats, and it's really fun. They actually sell T-shirts of the mountain goats that live nearby reading the Jerusalem Post floating in the Dead Sea. No, that's a misconception that comes out of many of us. When we were younger, we saw the Sunday school pictures, but those were from the 19th century. There have been 3 major deforestations of the Holy Land. One in about 2000 BC, one after Nebuchadnezzar stripped and burned the Holy Land in 586, and the third one under the Turks, which was from the time of Luther down to World War I, because the Turks taxed land based on the number of trees you had, and they also built a steam railway that used up most of the forests. But if you read in the Bible, it calls the Jordan River Valley a jungle. It talks about bears and lions and ostriches and wild donkeys. It talks about the forests. So the Israelis have been planting trees now since the end of the 19th century. And gradually, it is becoming reforested back the way it was at the time of the Bible. They've also been reintroducing all of the animals that they can find still extant from the Bible. So, no, there are deserts, and we will see especially the Judean wilderness where John the Baptist was active, where Elisha went out to pray. So we'll have a spiritual journey in the Judean wilderness where Jesus and the prophets would go for meditation. Yes, that's part of it, but most of the rest of Israel is green and lush and forested. I mentioned to a group when I was with you last Sunday that the Sea of Galilee, the Lord has given us such great rains last winter that for the first time in 15 years, the Sea of Galilee is up to its heights. It's just all the way up to the bank where it's supposed to be. So hopefully if that continues and we have good rains next winter, you'll be able to see the Sea of Galilee at its best. My real job, I teach Old Testament at the Lutheran Seminary in Columbia, South Carolina. And I tell my students, I teach the book in this country and we walk the Bible in the Holy Land. So part of my call and ministry is teaching not only in the classroom here, but in Israel where we say the land is our classroom. Well, will I get in trouble if I say New Orleans?
No, we'll just edit it out.
But I have, really? I have been coming to Baton Rouge, let's see, my parents, Norman and Shirley Luker, moved here from Tokyo, where my brother Jeff and I spent our high school years. I believe they moved here in 1972, and I was still in college. So I spent a couple of summers here working in your beautiful summer heat when I was in college, and have been coming back to see my parents annually ever since.
And were you going to school in St. Louis at Concordia, or were you at Springfield?
I was at Fort Wayne.
Fort Wayne?
Yes. And after that, I was at St. Louis.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Luker. Appreciate it. And we'll look forward to seeing you in June.
I look forward to meeting all of you and spending 2 weeks together.
All right. Oh, and you will be with us the whole time.
I will be with you. I will be the teacher and the guide. So we will not have to hire a professional guide. You're stuck with me, and I'll try to bring everything I know to bear. We'll also have meals together, and we'll share Holy Communion together. We'll share prayer together, and I'll try to help you unpack what you're seeing. But I will tell you, I tell you my students when they get off the plane, I want you to go home confused about the modern situation. And we'll try to, it's not black or white, but we'll try to talk to enough people and talk to each other enough about it so you'll also never read the newspaper or see the evening news the same again. You'll have a much richer understanding of what's going on in the Holy Land today.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Thank you, Dr. Luker.
Yeah, I hesitated to do this, but my students for the last 20 years have been saying, Dr. Luker, would you please write down everything you say in the Holy Land because we can't remember it all. So last year I was on sabbatical in Jerusalem, and I wrote the book. It's called An Illustrated Guide to the Holy Land for Tour Groups, Students, and Pilgrims. And it has about 100 entries, all of the places where we'll be going and more. It has an historical and sociological introduction, and it's different than the travel books that are out there in that at each spot I try to interpret the archaeological evidence alongside the biblical story and, when possible, draw theological conclusions. So it will be out in November, and that will be our textbook, so you can look at it before you go and then use it as a daily guide for your preparation and review when you're in the Holy Land next June. And then if my students in the past are correct, they like to have something like that to refer to after the trip to review. You see so many things, they all start to blend together. When you get back, you can go back to the book, to the various sites, and maybe teach your own Bible classes or participate in Bible classes that Pastor will be teaching here.
Excellent. And the book is called again?
An Illustrated Guide to the Holy Land for tour groups, students, and pilgrims. It's by Abingdon Academic Press. We'll have a link for it on the webpage so that it can be pre-ordered. Comes out in November.